Hi, I'm Tim. I am the Tinkering Turtle. It's been a while since I've put out a video, and I apologize for that. It's been a couple months, but as many of you know, I've been working on a product for the cruiser and step through, and it's taken up quite a bit of my time. Today we're going to do a short video on a little thing I picked up from Himiway. Let's get into it. So today I received this. I bought it last October 29th, and it finally showed up on, what is it, the 8th of, or yesterday would be the 7th of July 2021. So it's been quite a while, and I'm pretty excited finally to get it and see what we get from Himiway. It is the basket with some screws, which surprises me because they're already on the bike. It is the basket for the Himiway Escape. Let's get it on the bike. So the first thing I'm noticing is that there is a bolt here with a lock nut that is on the bottom, and it's kind of loose. So what I think has to happen is you have to take the board off to be able to tighten this, because it just spins freely. So I'm pretty sure this is what they want you to mount the headlight to, but if I look at this, the headlight has clearance underneath, and I'd rather have the headlight move with the front tire. So I think I'm just gonna take the bolt out because I don't want it rattling when I'm riding, and put the board back in. I think that's the first thing I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna leave the headlight right where it is. So I'm going to do that real quick, and we'll get back to mounting it. So now I've removed the loose bolt that was for the headlight, and I've put the board back in, and we'll get to mounting it. First thing I want to do is remove the 4 bolts that came with the bike. Now that I've got the 4 bolts removed, I'm going to loose fit this on with just a couple screws, and then I'm going to turn the bike back and forth to make sure the wire bundle isn't having any kind of issue before I tighten it down. Okay, I've just put 2 bolts in. Now I just want to turn the bike and see how this is stretched around here. I want to make sure that that isn't doing anything. I want to watch down here and make sure nothing's getting tugged or pulled on as I turn the handles all the way right and left. Like I said, as long as this doesn't get wrapped around the edge, you should be fine. So I think I'm going to go ahead and assemble the other 2 bolts. Now I should note, it looks like the bolts that they sent with the rack, front rack, are the same length as what came with the bike. So I'm just going to put these and keep these as a reserve. So after fiddling around with this a little bit, I realized that these bottom, you got on the rack, you have 2 holes on the bottom and the slots on the top. The width of these holes is different than the width of the mounting points, just slightly. So I'm going to take a drill and open up one of these holes so that I can get both the bottom bolts in. So I'm going to do that real quick, and I'll be right back. So I ended up taking a drill and drilling out both holes, oversized, pushing inwards with the bit as I drilled so that I could bias the hole towards the center, because these are closer together on my bike than here. I don't know if that'll be the same on your Escape, but I just thought I would mention it. Let's get this thing put on. And again, now that I have it firmly affixed, I want to just double check and make sure the headlight moves. I want to make sure that the wire bundle isn't binding on anything. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take probably this wrap or a zip tie, and I'm going to tie this onto the back bar. So that I don't get a situation where this slides outside of it, because that would be a problem. So I want it to held on this back bar. It seems to move freely at that point. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll talk about the size and what the capacity of this thing is. Happen to have some extra Velcro here that's longer, so I'm going to take that and wrap that around. Not tight, just kind of loose, just so it can move back and forth along the bar. Make sure nothing's binding all the way both directions. It's looking good. So let's talk now about what can this hold and give you some shots on how it looks. So here are my initial thoughts on this. I think it looks really good. It's proportional to the bike. I like the curvature of the rack itself. As far as capacity goes, I guess here's a funny thing. One of the main things I was looking for this was, does a 6-pack fit in it? And it sits in there really nicely. So you could put it in there, maybe put a little cushioning around it or something, and you could ride home from the store or the party store with the 6-pack of beer in the front. It's a great augmentation to the rear luggage rack I got. Took a really long time to get here. I do wish I wouldn't have had to modify it to get it to fit the bike. I wish they'd have oversized those holes at the factory and the slots. The slots work perfectly. The holes were too tight. It's a nice little addition to the Escape. I use the Escape for just running around the neighborhood, talking to the neighbors, or run into the store real quick. In this case, to get a 6-pack of beer, it would work perfectly for that. Okay, I just took this for a little quick ride, and the first thing I found out is that when the shocks drop, they drop about 2 inches, and the first thing this rack does is hit the headlight. So I think I'm going to have to pull the rack back, or pull this board back off, put the bolt back in, see if I can reposition the headlight underneath the rack and eliminate that issue. Because right now when the handlebars go down with the shock absorption, this rack comes down and hits right on that headlight. I want to see if I can attach the headlight to it, keep it up off the fender enough where that doesn't become a problem. Let me do that now. It's all about trial and error. Well, I can already tell that that's not going to work. If I were to mount it like this, the gap underneath is still going to hit when the shock absorbers go down, so it'll hit the fender. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Let me think about it a little bit and get back to you. Okay, well, what I've decided to do is, instead of trying to mount the light underneath where there's not enough gap to the front fender, actually I should tell you what I did. I actually went onto Citizen Cycle's first YouTube video about the Escape, and he had the light mounted to this screw point underneath, but he did not have a front fender on it. So for some reason the front fender interferes with the light when it's underneath the basket. So here's what I decided to do. I actually made a small aluminum bracket with a hole in it. It's going to go behind the bars here, and then I painted both the bracket with the light and that black, and I'm going to mount the light up here on the front of the basket. I actually had to go buy a brand new M6 stainless steel cap screw that's an inch long to make that all happen, and I had to make and paint the bracket here. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble that now. It's going to sit something like this. It's going to be on the basket. It won't turn with the front tire, unfortunately. I gotta say, I'm very disappointed. I think Himiway should have addressed that issue before they designed and shipped the product. The basket does have room to come up here, so they could have raised that basket up the 2 or so inches that they needed to get it to have clearance. They didn't do that. Like I said, very disappointed that this is the situation I'm in, but that's the way it's going to have to be. So I'm going to go ahead and assemble this and show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, the other thing I decided to do is I'm going to put the cap part of the screw inside the basket and then the threaded part coming out, so that if I'm putting stuff in and out of the basket, I don't scratch it on the end of the bolt. This gets a little tricky to assemble, but I got this on nice and tight. I'm going to tighten down the 2 side bolts to adjust how high it is, and then we'll be all set. Okay, that's on there pretty firm. I'm going to run the wire underneath. So I've got it here. Remember, when you're plugging in the headlight wire, there's arrows on both sides. You want to line those arrows up. And then just push it straight together. I will zip tie this underneath so that it has room and it doesn't drop down into the tire, but I'll zip tie that up after I get the wood piece back in. I'll also put some safety zip ties around here, so if this does pop up and off again, the headlight won't fall down too far. Well, I don't have black zip ties, I've got the white ones, so I'll use these for now, and then I will go back and get some black ones and replace them later, just so it looks better. And again, this one is just to hold up the headlight. Get that nice and tight. Clip off the extra. And then these two are going to be a safety in case this works its way up and falls off. It'll be a safety so the headlight doesn't fall and break. Okay, I'm going to take this for a quick ride, check it out, then I'll come back and give you my final thoughts. Okay, I took it out for a ride. The wire bundle being loose fit to the back bar does very well. It's nice and tight, nothing jiggles or moves, so it's got a nice sound to it. Again, I think at this point I'm going to have to say, with all the work I had to do to get this right and working, you know, tinkering on it like the tinkering turtle, I don't know that I can say that this is a good buy. They should have listed this up, you know, at least up below this bar a couple inches, so that you could decide where you wanted to mount the headlight underneath. Or they should have put a bracket on the front of the rack here that you could attach it to if you wanted it attached to the rack. I mean, the rack's a nice size. It fits the bike very well, but with all the tinkering I had to do on it, the reaming out the holes back here, the moving of the headlight, I don't know that I can give it a good review. I did reach out to Himiway, I want to point that out, and I did ask them about it. At the time of the taping of this video, they had not gotten back to me yet, but it's only been a few hours. It usually takes a full day. I will look for that, and if I do get a response, I'll put it in the description of the video, so check that out. Again, I'll put the link for this in the video in case you're interested in what rack what bag I'm using on the back. And that's the video. If you have any questions or comments about it, please leave a comment. Like the video if you liked it, and I'll catch you later. Have a good one.